This is Nikkon Balial of the Global Justice Journal. I'm here with Mr. Anu Fobeneh of the Interim Government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, who has graciously agreed to share his perspective on the Anglophone crisis. Mr. Fobeneh, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Nikkon. It's a pleasure to join you, and thank you for inviting me to your conference.
Thank you, Mr. Fobeneh. So moving on to my first question, if that's all right. When searching for the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia online, we discovered two separate websites. One lists Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako as the president, and the other lists Sisiko Ayuk Tabe. What is the difference between the two, and with which one are you affiliated?
Well, let me state here that we have only one interim government, and it is the interim government led by Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako. Sisiko Ayuk used to be our leader. In fact, he declared the restoration of the independence of Ambazonia on October 22nd, 2017. I'm sorry, it was, yes, October 22nd, 2017. However, the leadership changed, and Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako became the new leader of the independent movement for the Southern Cameroon. You will recall, Sisiko is now being locked up in Cameroon, La République du Cameroon, by the Cameroon government. He is not the leader. Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako is the leader, and there is only one interim government.
Does your interim government have a strategy for gaining international recognition as an independent country?
I'm sorry, can you take the question once more so I can get it better?
Sure, absolutely. So I asked, does your interim government have a strategy for gaining international recognition as an independent country?
Of course, absolutely. This war has only two phases. Number one, the armed phase and the diplomatic phase. That's basically what it is. We are fighting on the ground to defend ourselves and to free ourselves. At the same time, we have the diplomatic arm that is lobbying the international community to see our narrative, not necessarily buy it, but see it, because it has been there. And we are trying to get them to come to the table to push the case, because if you read the history of the Southern Cameroon's independence, you will realize that 64 countries at the United Nations General Assembly voted for the independence of the Southern Cameroons. So only 23 countries voted against it, but it overwhelmingly passed the United Nations vote. So we are now going back to those countries and telling them, you voted for our independence. We never got it. It was stolen from us. We need you to come back to reaffirm that you voted for our independence. So this is what our diplomatic arm is trying to achieve.
So do you view the formation of an autonomous country as the only path to peace and equality for citizens of the Southern Cameroons?
Absolutely. That is what we are fighting for and asking for, independence or nothing. And I will explain to you why. It is the only option on the table as far as this interim government of Ambazonia and the people of Ambazonia are concerned. We have lived with La République du Cameroon since 1961. And what have we achieved? What have we attained as a country? We don't have rights. Our educational system destroyed. Our economy destroyed. Our military system destroyed. Everything Anglo-Saxon, everything Anglo-Saxon in Ambazonia, Southern Cameroons, destroyed. Our people are made second-class citizens. When they appoint their ministers, they give Southern Cameroonians what you will consider crumbs falling from the table. They give them those positions just to satisfy them, window dressing. We also have a situation where our educational system has been destroyed, our legal system destroyed. Anything that we join La République du Cameroon with as a country has been destroyed. And let me also tell you the reason why we have no other choice but a free and independent Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. This conflict is going into the 5th year. It will be 5 years old in October this year. And you would think that if French Cameroon was really looking for some solutions to the conflict, they would have immediately enacted some reforms that you would think, oh, they are trying to fix the system. But no, going to 5 years, they have not carried out a single reform that you see as a solution to this conflict. They still have French teachers in our schools. They still have French judges and attorney generals in our courts. Nothing has changed. And so we realize that if they cannot even think of genuine reforms, genuine changes, in 5 years where you have over 15,000 people killed and over 400 homes razed down and 1,000 living in refugee camps, and of course I cannot even talk about the internally displaced. If they cannot effect any change and all they think they can do is kill our people to victory, to keeping us, no, it is not going to happen. The only option that we have on the table is independence, or we'll fight to the last person standing. And of course, there will be no last person standing because Ambazonia, the overwhelming majority of Ambazonians, will live to see a free and independent Ambazonia. Only independence, nothing else. They can keep on making the rounds, doing all the lobbies across the globe. Let me assure everyone listening to the sound of my voice that the Southern Sudan, they fought for over 20 years. Eritrea went close to 30 years, and so on. The Palestinians are still fighting, but the Southern Sudan and Eritrea, they fought this long and they got their independence. I'm saying this to say that nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, is going to stop us from fighting to the end of this struggle, and the only solution being a free and independent Ambazonia.
In 2019, you were the only Ambazonian leader in the diaspora who accepted an invitation to meet with John Fruin, Federalist and founder of the Social Democratic Front. Were you and Mr. D able to see eye to eye on anything?
Well, thank you. Thank you for that question. It wasn't a unilateral position of mine to meet Chairman John Fruin. It was a collective decision of our interim government for me to meet with him. The original idea, there was an invitation from John Fruin visiting America for us, the leaders of the interim government, to meet with him. We sat down, we discussed, and we all agreed Fruin has taken positions which are quite in the contrary to the positions of the interim government on the independence of Ambazonia. And so the interim government felt that it wasn't okay for a delegation, a team, or the whole government to go meeting with John Fruin. And they decided, hey, Chris should go meet with him first, and then if need be, the entire cabinet can then meet with John Fruin. So that was the context under which I met Fruin, it wasn't again my own decision. It was that of the interim government of Ambazonia. But talking about whether we saw face to face, Fruin told me that he believes in a free and independent Ambazonia. But we differed on how to get there. Fruin thinks that we should start by taking some 10-state federation and accepting their special status, the special status which he did not know the content. It is only now everybody knows the content of the special status. And we know that there is actually nothing in the content of the special status. So Fruin felt that let's approach it piecemeal by piecemeal. You go by 10-state federation, you accept the special status, and then slowly you get to your independence. And we said, no, that is not the way we go. People are being killed, and we're not going to waste 30 years going through some federation, some special status to arrive at our independence. We said we want independence now, and we're ready to fight for it. Fruin has never been ready to fight. He did not fight La Republic of Cameroon when they rigged his elections. Again and again, for all the time he has been political leader in that country, he has never been ready to fight. And the unfortunate thing is that he is now part of the ruling cabal. Fruin is part of the ruling cabal. He said recently that the CPDM, which is Paul Biya's ruling party, is the reason why he is alive. So that was, he was speaking to his own national executive. So we differed on how to approach this, and whether Fruin is actually honest that he wants a free and independent Ambazonia, I doubt it.
If the majority of people in the Southern Cameroons were to choose federalism over the formation of an independent country, would you honor the will of the people?
That is an interesting question, whether the majority of the people in the Southern Cameroon choose federation. I think that is a hypothetical question. We are not there yet, but I want to assure you, even if we were there, I think now you are speaking in the scenario where I guess there is a referendum. Again, we are not yet there. I hope we get there, because I can assure you, if we get there, 99.99 Ambazonians will vote to be free people from La Republic du Cameroon. I do not think any Ambazonian out there would choose any form of federation, even that which obtains in Canada. I don't think any of them would choose it, considering that Paul Biya and French Cameroon didn't have to kill over 15,000 people to then put federation on the table. They did not have to raise over close to 500 homes to put federation on the table. They did not have to put over 1 million people internally displaced to suggest federation. All these things did not have to happen. So, absolutely no. Ambazonians are not ready to choose or vote for any form of federation. Given the opportunity, they will vote for a free and independent country called Ambazonia.
Whether as a separate country or a separate state, do you believe the people of the Southern Cameroons should demand reparations? And if so, from whom?
I think reparations are a just thing to come. After war, you will realize that after war, there are people who have been victims of this war. They lost their families, have been killed. Take, for example, the situation in Ngaribo, where close to 40 people were killed by the Cameroon army. How do you not ask the government of that country to compensate the families of those killed in Ngaribo after the war? There have to be reparations. And the people who deserve the reparations, people whose homes were burnt down by La République du Cameroon soldiers, and of course, who pays for the reparations? French Cameroon pays for the reparations because it is their soldiers who are out committing these crimes, killing the people, burning down their towns in their villages. The reparations would have to come from them.
You have frequently spoken out against women peace builders in the Southern Cameroons, referring to them as traitors. Can you please explain why you view them as traitors?
Well, I would not categorize every woman in Ambazonia as a traitor. There are some, majority of them are patriots. I'm talking of women like the ladies you found in Kumba after the school shootings in Kumba, who walked up to Paul Atanganji and called his bluff and that of his government, calling for objection. I'm talking of women like the ones in Bamenda who stood in front of the main market in Bamenda and told the colonial officials in that town that they did not elect them. I'm talking of those women sitting in front of the governor's office in Boya and refusing to accept to Bernard Okalia, who said it was their boys, their children killing others. Those are patriots. Those women are patriots. But when I say use the word traitors, I am referring to those women who are actually out for business, making money out of this war, out of these killings. They never condemn the barbarism that French Cameroon continued to met upon the people of Ambazonia. When people are killed, they don't hold the army responsible. You never hear them hold the army responsible. When they want this conflict to be over, you don't hear them asking their government to call off the war because their government called for the war in the first place. You never hear them call for the government, call for Paul Biya to end the war. No, you don't hear it. When they preach about an end, a solution, they talk about peace, peace without justice. Peace, their definition of peace means Ambazonia laying down arms and allowing La République du Cameroon to continue with the marginalization, of course, the colonization also. No, that is why I call them, they are traitors within us. They pretend as if they are fighting for the common man. They get contracts from the government and they go around preaching peace, peace without justice. Now, let me explain to you what justice in this situation means, because many people don't understand what we mean by justice. Justice in this situation means looking into the root causes of this conflict and rectifying it. How did we get here? How did we get here? Those are the root causes that we need to look into before you can talk about peace. Because if the root causes are looked into and a solution preferred, there will be nobody carrying arms out there, not in Ambazonia. But again, no longer in the context of one Cameroon, in the context of two neighbors, Ambazonia and French Cameroon, living apart.
How would you like mediators to approach the peace process? And who would you like to be involved in the process?
We would like every mediator to approach the peace process looking at the root causes. I think whoever came up with this in the international community, that is the best way to go. Because if you do not look at the root causes and you go looking at cosmetic reforms that La République has been trying to do all this while, then give it 1 year, 2 years, I bet you. Of course, if we don't look at the root causes, We are not going to lay down arms. We are not going to lay down arms for any solution to this conflict that does not look at the root causes of the problem, of the war. So that is the approach we are expecting, and we would want to see on the table there. We think that every fair-minded authority should be on the table. We would love as many people as possible. When I talk about people, I mean international bodies, international organizations like yours and others. We would like to see them on the table. Just brokers, those are the kind of people we want to see on the table. On the part of Ambazonia, of course, this interim government will represent Ambazonia on that table and every other Ambazonian groups that are for nothing but the independence of Ambazonia. This mediation or dialogue is not between federalists and unitarists and independentists. These negotiations is going to be between Cameroon and Ambazonians who wants independence. Let me explain, let me go further a little bit here. Now, within Ambazonia, there are those who still think that federation would work. There are those who still think that living with Cameroon under some reforms would be okay. We do not consider them Ambazonians because they are still arguing, presenting the same argument with Cameroon. So that is why I said this mediation is between La République du Cameroon and Ambazonia. Ambazonia is the overwhelming majority that seeks nothing but a free and independent country. So on the table of negotiation, mediation, there are going to be only two sides. The people who support a one and indivisible Cameroon, either through federation or unit or one and indivisible Cameroon, they all will be on the part of Cameroon, even if they come from the Southern Cameroons. Then the other part is Ambazonia. Every Ambazonian who believes in a free and independent country. So it is two parties between us, Cameroon and Ambazonia. Internationally, we're looking at every fair-minded authority, powers, NGOs, government that will want to see a fair settlement to the conflict.
What would it take to reach an immediate ceasefire?
Well, an immediate ceasefire can take place even without negotiations if Cameroon soldiers withdraw, if Cameroon withdraw their soldiers and their barracks from Ambazonia. There was no fighting in Ambazonia until French Cameroon pushed their soldiers into the territory. The moment they show up and began to rape our girls, rape our mothers, rape our women, Ambazonians had to take up arms to defend our children, our girls, our mothers, and our women. That is why we took up arms. So immediate ceasefire will happen when French Cameroon withdraw their forces. And of course, if they do, who will Ambazonian forces be fighting? Nobody. They will have nobody to fight. So that will mean an immediate ceasefire. And I hope that French Cameroon, they can do that. And then we get to the negotiation table and we decide on the form of state for the two parts of the country.
Do you have a message you would like to share with the governments of the United States, the United Kingdom, France, or any other countries?
Well, what I would say, thank you for mentioning all those countries, because with the exception of France, the United Kingdom, the United States, many others, Canada, and so on, they all voted for the independence of Ambazonia in 1961. Now, that independence was killed. Some say it was stolen. Others say it was manipulated The fact is that the independence that the United Nations voted in 1961 for Ambazonia, the Southern Cameroons, was never the British. The British handed the Southern Cameroons over to the French, to the French, without all the articles put on paper from the United Nations being fulfilled. And so our appeal to all those countries would be, please revisit Article 1608 of the United Nations, that which granted independence to the Southern Cameroons. We are asking them to come back. The marriage has not worked. The union was never there. We are asking them, support us. We're gonna work with you, even with the French. We will work with the French. We will work with the French as an independent Ambazonian. So we are asking them not to be afraid. We are not going to be the next Southern Sudan. We are not going to be ungovernable. We are a very civilized, educated set of people. We are able to rule ourselves. And so we are asking the Americans, the British, the Canadians, the Australians, the Germans, every civilized and democratic country out there, you support Ambazonia's quest for independence. You shall have no regret that you did. And of course, we will do trade even with the French. If they realize that this is not about the French or against the French, it's about freedom, which I believe the French cherish. If the French can step out and say, okay, we stand with you, we support you, listen, we have business to do with the French. This game is a game of interest, and we want the French to know Ambazonia, a free Ambazonia, we definitely still have French interests at heart, but it has to be on equal terms, country with another, I mean, a country versus a country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fobeneh. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
I am a woman in the southwest region of Cameroon. I have decided to starve myself today to get a glimpse of what my fellow women, brothers and sisters are going through in the bushes. While doing so, pray for peace to return to the north and southwest region of Cameroon.
I feel for those boys in the bushes. I want to pray fast for the boys in the bushes. And I also want to pray for peace to return in our beautiful nation, Cameroon. Thank you.